Well, with the introduction of the CBC or the CBE curriculum, sports is now one of the pathways that students can select from. And historically, sports was seen just as an extracurricular activity. Um, and we've often, as schools, invariably we focus and put more time towards the academic program. But if you look at the how jobs are evolving, there are lots of careers that students can choose from if they take the sports pathway. For example, they can become sports broadcasters. Sports science is an option. Biokinetics is an option for them. Sports therapy, sports statisticians, because data is now a very big part in sports. So we would not be doing justice to our education program if we didn't invest in sports. We are comfortable with the developments and our investment in the academic program, in the IT infrastructure, and there was a need for us to actually uplift our sports infrastructure. And with these projects, we've just spent a little bit over 100 million to actually enhance our sports facilities for this particular campus. It doesn't stop there. We've got
When you say 100 million, there are people who are watching this and they're wondering, like, why spend 100 million on sports infrastructure?
Because it is important, and it does actually have a positive impact on academic outcomes as well. The kind of skills that our learners learn in the sports field do actually extend to the classroom. The self-discipline, the time management, sportsmanship, the ethics that they learn in the field do actually have an impact on their academic program. And not to mention that you also, it's important to mention that there's, a healthy body, healthy mind. So there are so many benefits of having a strong sports program, that benefits the children beyond the sports facilities.
Do you feel like, or do you probably think that we pay enough attention to sports as an alternative way, as a country, in trying to, give an alternative pathway for students?
Certainly not. But I think as a country, Kenya is on its way there. It's moving in the right direction, and government has invested through the the CBE curriculum, to ensure that sports is no longer seen as just extracurricular activity. It is a pathway. PE is part of the curriculum. After grade 9, children will have an option to choose between three pathways. Sports and arts is one of the pathways that kids can choose from. And there are lots of rewarding careers in the sports pathway. So is enough being done? Certainly not. Are we moving in the right direction? Absolutely.
Yes, and when you talk about developing young kids to become the future stars, parents play a pivotal role. What do you have to say about that?
Allow them to explore their talents. Gone are the days when we would only get excited when our children study law and become lawyers. Like I said, they can become sports scientists, sports statisticians. So allow them to explore, allow them to go into the field. But also, even if they don't take the path of becoming athletes, there are various other careers they can take. Even if they don't stick to sports, but allow them to explore that talent, because they will learn skills that will extend to the classroom and ultimately help them achieve improved academic outcomes.
How do you compare Kenya when you take a look at other African countries?
I think Kenya is one of the few countries that have taken bold steps in actually ensuring that this is part of the curriculum. I think in a lot of African countries, there's still a huge focus on rote learning and the memory test that we're talking about. Children are assessed and, with a massive, sharp focus on exams. And I mean, if I were to ask you, I mean, when was the last time you had to use what you learned when you wrote your, KCPE? How has, that helped you in any way? But the sort of direction that the government is taking with the CBE curriculum is actually helping developing skills. Now, skills, competencies will never go out of fashion. but what you remembered or what you studied and memorized, 10, 15 years ago, is certainly not going to add value to your work. You may have learned some skills from a discipline point of view, but the focus with the current curriculum is really enhancing skills that will set kids up for careers that we don't even know yet because they don't exist yet.
And now that we're here at Makini on Ngong Road, the question will be, why does Makini stand out when it comes to sports?
We're known for swimming and participation, international participation in chess. We've stood out historically for that, but I think we're going to be standing out for more reasons, for allowing more and more students to participate, for making sure that our children are set well positioned for success. So a Makini learner is going to be well positioned for success, whether in sports, whether in the classroom, whether in IT, because we're focusing and enhancing our investments in those spaces. And that's part of the benefit of a parent who brings their child to Makini, that they have such facilities.
Yes. Swimming has for a very long time been something that stands out with Makini.
Yeah.
So now that you have set up football here, basketball over there, still, will the same attention be given to swimming just the same way now that you have football and basketball?
Absolutely, because we've got many children, and children have to explore their talents. And we have to give them more options. And these are not the only facilities that we've actually are launching. We've got another one on the other side, so that kids have more choices. And these are multi-purpose. So yes, they're going to play football, but they're going to play hockey here as well. On the other side, basketball, netball. So there are various opportunities that we are creating for students. And those who prefer swimming will continue with that. We will not reduce our investment in infrastructure, resources, and the human resources that it requires for us to achieve superior outcomes in sports. So we're going to continue with those investments. We're certainly not going to pull back. We're just going to have more options for our learners.
We are talking about the kids, but at the same time getting people who can see where their best talent is in terms of sports is very critical.
Yeah.
And that is where the coach comes in. What have you done to make sure that you have the best coaches to give these kids, rather to bring out the best from these kids?
We've got a dedicated sports department. So for us, as part of our payroll, it's not just teachers. As part of our payroll, we've got a sports department with a head of sports and various coaches, others focusing on swimming, coaching, chess, various focus points. And they work with the children. Some of the relationships are one-on-one relationships, especially with the talented kids who are prepared to put in the extra time. Because they've got ambitions, to be athletes in those areas. So we've actually put in a lot of investment, not just in infrastructure, but also in human resources.
Horace, when you move around and look at these kids, I'm sure there's some of them that you look at them and you're like, that is going to be a star in the future. Has that happened to you?
Absolutely. When I walk around the schools, I also enjoy watching them play soccer. And on a number of occasions, you look at them, and you get a warm feeling when you look at just the potential. We've had learners who've gone abroad for trials to get opportunities to play in those countries. So we're going to continue putting efforts into that. The sports department, which is dedicated and has a sharpened focus on this, part of what we're driving with them is how many kids are actually getting the opportunity to actually go at least showcase their talents outside the borders of Kenya.
Finally, your message out there to Kenyans on developing young kids to become future stars in different sporting fields that we have in the country.
So what I can say is that sports is a business. And we often don't look at it as a business. We look at it as a nice to have, as extra. But sports is a business, and people build lucrative careers in sports. So allow your children to actually follow their passion. Because if they do something they love, they will make it commercially viable. A lot of us as parents, we're concerned about the future, a sustainable career that's going to last beyond the age of 30 or 35. And often the concern is that, if they choose to be athletes, they're going to be limited at 35. But think about the fact that there's a lot more in sports. Like I said, sports broadcasters, biokinetists, statisticians in sports, sports science. There are various career opportunities that are lucrative, sustainable, and that go beyond the age of 30. So allow the children to explore. It is critical.